Hello, I'm Alan Capper of South South News. At South South News, we discuss ICT, Information Communications Technology, very regularly because we do regard this as being extremely significant for developing nations. This morning, we are very fortunate to have with us someone who is leading the charge for ICT in his own country. That is Minister for Information and Communications of Kenya, Minister Samuel Poghisio. Very good to have you with us, Minister, and thank you for being with South South News. In pushing ICT in Kenya, this is a cultural and a social and a technology challenge, isn't it? You're really pushing a whole fiber optic technology and culture in Kenya. How is that proceeding, and what is the timetable for that?
First, thank you, Alan, for this moment. I want to assure you that the nation of Kenya has decided, the government of Kenya, of course, has decided that the ICTs are so important that my charge is to make sure that Kenya becomes the hub of ICTs in our East African region, and if possible, be part of the cutting edge of today's world in terms of ICTs. And so I have to push it with all my heart and push it with all my energies, together with the members of staff that are with me. But I can say that it is government policy that we do so, and government is basically putting money where its mouth is in this regard, and we're basically making headway. I think in terms of progress, we can say that we are up to speed. We have already worked very much with the private sector to provide the fiber optic cables, which are the basic infrastructure for international connection in terms of broadband. And so that is going to be the one that is going to revolutionize the internet, the use of internet within our government and within the private sector in Kenya. But the fiber optics is not just for Kenya. It's for all the countries around Kenya.
Right.
So we're just a landing station. We have encouraged all the investments and encouraged private sector to be part of this. But Kenya is simply the hub. It's going to go into Tanzania, into Uganda, into Rwanda, Burundi, Eastern Congo, Southern Sudan, all the way to Ethiopia, Somalia, and so on. So basically we are achieving that, being the hub of telecommunications, of ICTs in the region.
It's a major commitment, but those other countries are going to derive great benefit from your taking this initiative. It's a massive financial commitment as well, even though you do have private involvement, private corporation involvement. How did you seek technology partners for this enterprise?
Apparently, the world seems to be ready for this. So when we began with the East African Marine System, which was the first cable we worked with, we thought that government was going to carry the whole burden. But as soon as we made the initial steps to developing that cable and bringing it through Fujairah in the UAE and connecting it to Mombasa, as soon as we did that, then partners began to realize it was a serious matter, and they saw the value of this. So the first cable was very quickly subscribed, fully subscribed, and so the partners took shares in it, and so it was very easy for us to build the first one.
Yeah, excellent.
And then thereafter, the second cable, which was the CCOM cable, were private, completely private sector, and very soon they had their own partners and they brought it. Then quickly the third one, which was made up of the easy cable, we call it the easy cable, made up of telecommunication companies within the region. They quickly got together and soon realized the benefit of it. So the world is ready for this. They know that that's the next big thing that's going to happen. That's where the investment is going to be based. The investment is going to be in terms of the whole world being ready for the next phase of ICT. And we're moving so fast in telecommunications as well that mobile broadband has become so important. And so this is the way we led. But thereafter, it's no longer in our hands. It's taken off by itself. I think we're expecting this year the 4th fiber optic cable to land in Mombasa. And so we are really moving, we're on roll here.
That's fast progress. And so the density of cell phone ownership has increased dramatically.
Well, if I may just give the, in terms of time, 10 years ago, when we began in 1999, just about 10 years ago, we had only 15,000 customers. Today, we're talking about half of the population with cell phones in their hands, 20 million people. That is just a leap, and it's growing, it's moving on. So within a span of 10 years, you can see already the percentages involved are mind-boggling. The internet penetration, which was quickly becoming catching on, had surpassed the 10%, and so that to me is the way it's going to be in the future. This is just this year, and I'm with the penetration of mobile phones, and with smartphones coming in and better phones coming in, and with all our telecommunications companies already subscribing to 3G technology and moving on to 4G technology, it's going to be something else.
Right.
Yes.
And more children using computers, computers playing a bigger role in education. I'm amazed at my own 5-year-old daughter, who is as good on the computer as I am, almost, and this is a very important element in education. But this is part of a bigger vision, isn't it? Your vision for 2030. Can you explain a little bit more about what that means and how that was accepted by the government?
Well, Alan, I think, again, the government's being proactive and wanting to earmark rather certain pillars of development within certain time plans and
right.
time targets, that by the year 2030 Kenya ought to be a middle income economy driven by ICTs. And one of the biggest pillars within the 3 pillars, the social, political, and one of the economic pillars is that we would use ICTs to grow our economy. And flagship project that we're thinking about is the business processes outsourcing, the BPOs. The BPOs in Kenya will create so much employment among the youth. Our youth at the moment have taken up ICTs in secondary schools, at universities, in mid-level colleges. You have a trained workforce, people who can actually run your ICT programs at the moment. But we develop that so that with a good English language that Kenyans speak, and with a good business training that they have, they can, European, American, and other companies can outsource their back office, for example, to Kenya. You have other businesses that can be outsourced to Kenya. You don't have to do them here. We can do them for you in Kenya.
And you're pursuing that kind of business?
And we're pursuing that.
Yeah.
We are establishing a center within Nairobi, which should take off within this year.
Right.
Yes, where we're encouraging all companies that need outsourcing to be done in Nairobi to be based in a particular geographical area, which is called a specialized economic zones areas within Nairobi. So they can actually have within that data banks, they have broadbands provided for them there, they have satellite connections, they have power connections, including, all the backups and so on, so that business is basically for business outsourcing. And it's worked. It's worked in India. It can work in Kenya, and many other places. But this is what we are trying to encourage. And so the Vision 2030 recognizes that as part of our development that's going to bring Kenya into a middle-income economy.
Right. So, but ICT for you, for Kenya, but for many other countries, also has tremendous impact in the management of government services, communications between central government, regional government, that kind of thing. Is that happening in Kenya?
Yeah, one of the things that what government has done is provide a secure network for government, a network dedicated to government. What has happened over the years is that we have had records, government records, that have made it difficult, but they were all records on paper, you see.
Yes.
And filing records and,
Yes.
and so on. Now we have decided to digitize those records so that it has cut the time taken to do business in Kenya tremendously.
So,
So that you can search records quickly through the computer now,
Right.
not going through the paper file that took many, many years, including disappearance of files.
yes.
Now it's easy for you to start a business and register that business within 2 days, 3 days, and you're done. You don't have the hustle that used to be there. So we're digitizing all government records. We're making it possible, for example, in the judiciary, for technology to be used. Telepresence, for example, to be used for the judiciary. We are making it possible, for example, for government officers no longer to need to travel from one office to the other. If we have IP-based telephones,
Right.
we have video conferencing equipment and so on. So government is adopting ICTs for purposes of e-government, making our government an e-government.
Right.
So that is happening in Kenya. It's happening within the region. And so very soon, country to country will be managed that way as well. It's the way to go is it's putting money where you need to put your money. So government is budgeting for that. But we are driven by the Vision 2030 and our MDG goals. Because we are signatories to MDGs.
Indeed
and we
you are.
must attain our MDGs in these areas. One of the one of the other areas in e-government that is so critical is in education, an e-learning process, and then in telemedicine. And I think that when we achieve telemedicine, because of the scarcity of doctors and specialists, we are then able to maximize or to leverage what we have in terms of ICT infrastructure to make sure that consultants can reach out through ICTs
Yes.
to places which otherwise would not have doctors.
Yes.
And so that is realistic for us.
That completely changes the face of healthcare, doesn't it? In terms of the Millennium Goals, which you've just raised, you concluded a conference in Nairobi in November, I think, about climate change. Do you think that the media in Africa understands how to treat climate change? Is it seen as a serious, dramatic subject that they need to cover and understand, or is it disregarded as perhaps just a lunatic fringe, if you like?
The media has to be trained beyond their basic training on how to handle matters pertaining to world security, the climate change, matters that are not otherwise provided for in the classroom or in their daily training. They have seen, everybody knows that climate change has become a big issue in the world. And so what we were saying that time to the media is you need to take this on as something critical, as a central part of reporting on a daily basis. Because the changes, we've seen what has happened in Japan now, we've seen many other places, the drought in Africa.
Yes.
Just before we had the rains recently in Kenya, we were already beginning to talk about a disaster happening because of hunger and drought and so on. So we must take these matters. Things are not no more predictable the way we used to predict the weather. Things have changed. And so you need to be able to put a lot of emphasis as media on what is happening in the world today in regards to climate change. And that was the purpose of this conference,
Yes.
is to make sure that the reporting as it today gives due attention to the climate change issues. And I think that it was all agreed through our media owners associations in Nairobi within the region of East Africa that it is as critical as their daily reporting of news. and other things. So that's where we got them to understand, so that people are told on a daily basis that they can assign somebody or some team to look at the climate change issues within the media houses.
Yes.
Yeah.
There are, of course, as we know, many skeptics still out there, and those who say global warming, it's not a real thing, it's a cyclical thing. It's not global warming, it is climate change. That's the first piece of education, isn't it, that's needed. But that was a bold initiative, I think, to do that in Africa. And
and that it attracted so many participants and raised key issues.
Yes.
Goes to tell you that people don't take it lightly. I think they understand it now.
Well, I hope that continues. So all the measures you're taking, you have long-term goals, you're working now, you're working with major corporations like IBM, I think is one of your key partners. How did that relationship develop?
Well, I can say that the world is also watching our initiatives and realizing that Kenya is beginning to provide opportunities for partnerships. Our biggest ambition yet is to create what we are calling a technology city.
Right.
Just outside of Nairobi. We're calling it it's Konza Technopolis. It is a 5,000-acre piece of land that the government wants to put exclusively a technology city, that is a smart village of sorts, a place where all these companies you're talking about, all the technology companies, including government, can be in one place and instantly be able to provide services and technology, provide not manufacturing, but provide, manufacturing will be in a different place, but provide all the services, including financial, some e-government, e-health, provide whatever needs to be done in one place. And those services are going to be, that place is going to be built by the private sector,
right,
with government partnership. That's probably our biggest ambition yet.
Yeah,
but the government has already moved to get that to happen this year. I think we should be breaking ground this year.
That's a very exciting project, and we want to know more about how that is going to proceed. So I hope you'll come back and talk to us again about the exciting developments that are taking place in Kenya, very much under your direction and leadership.
Well, on the 11th and 12th of April, we are back in New York with the Prime Minister of Kenya for an investor conference, a Kenyan investor conference. And a lot of that will be shared, including, again, ICTs and technologies. Today, I'm doing a presentation at the Info Poverty Conference here on the same issues and highlighting more of what's happening in Kenya, the same questions that you're raising now, because we want to show that Africa is ready, that Kenya is ready, that actually partnership with the rest of the world will take care of some of these hindrances, some of the little problems that sometimes we worry about. I think technology will be an equalizer. We'll be able to give Africa a chance to play at the same level with the rest of the world.
Excellent. Well, Minister Samuel Poghisio, we thank you very much for coming to South News, and may we wish you great success with all your... This is Alan Kappa, South News.